great Northwoods to the Rock-On Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Today on Good Morning Maine, multiple arrests were made in an ongoing investigation into possession of sexually explicit material. Plus, millions of dollars have been spent on elections in Maine. We'll see where the money went. And fishermen are voicing their frustrations over having to pay increased mooring fees in Gouldsboro after years of getting it for free. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith and thank you for tuning in this morning. Let's start the day off with a check of that forecast. It seems like temperatures are going to begin to drop today. Here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Irish Collision Center offers expert repairs with a 3D frame measuring system, aluminum repair equipment. Our recent expansion boosts capacity with a faster service. We're dedicated to quality every time. Visit us today. Alrighty, here we go. Not as much fog as I was worried about so far this morning. We're seeing a little bit develop near parts of Washington County and also near parts of Rockland. That will go away as we get the day going. No advisories in that department, but we do have a small crowd advisory that is now up until 8 p.m. as we head towards your Friday with active surf that will be expected along the coast. Meanwhile, we are seeing clouds passing through this morning and even some rain showers showing up. We'll have this fizzle out this morning and we'll just have a mostly cloudy sky throughout the daytime period today. The sun will also come out from time to time. This is a cold front that's passing through located right about in here, so once this passes through, temperatures will start to cool off and we'll feel that coming up later on tonight and parts of tomorrow. Futurecast showing that mostly cloudy sky for us today, and we'll start to lose the clouds later on tonight and looking very nice. A lot of sunshine as we head towards your Friday. As for the winds, not too bad. They might get a little bit gusty, around 10 to 15 miles per hour at times, with higher gusts up to 20 to 25 miles per hour. That may continue along the coast later on tonight, but not as bad as you had inland later on. So otherwise, your forecast for today, we have middle 60s, mostly cloudy and breezy. Northwest wind at about 5 to 15 miles per hour. The hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period, showing that mostly cloudy sky as any rain this morning wraps up with temperatures in the mid 60s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up.
Thank you, Devin. We'll have a look at that full 5-day forecast a little later on. Well, the Maine State Police Computer Crimes Unit executed 2 search warrants Tuesday, yielding multiple arrests. The first warrant was executed at 153 Rooks Road in Eddington, where officials took 42-year-old Norman Dean Fannin into custody. Fannin was taken out on a warrant of Oregon for encouraging child sexual abuse. He's being held at the Penobscot County Jail pending extradition proceedings. Police executed the second warrant at 1484 Route 1 in the town of Hancock in connection with an ongoing investigation into possession of sexually explicit material. 47-year-old Peter Dysart was home at the time of the search and has been cooperative with the investigation. Tragic news out of Reedfield, Maine. A man crossing Main Street on Tuesday was hit by an oncoming truck and was killed. Maine State Police say it happened just after 6 p.m. on Tuesday. They say 76-year-old Andrews Tolman was walking across Main Street after leaving the Reedfield Historical Society when he tripped and fell in the street. A truck traveling eastbound did not see Tolman lying in the road, resulting in the truck hitting him and killing him. According to a post on Facebook, Tolman was on the board of directors for the Historical Society. They said, quote, "We have been a small but mighty group in a great part due to the efforts and support of Andy Tolman, and we will always be so grateful for him," end quote. The crash remains under investigation by Maine State Police. A months-long investigation ended in the arrest of 4 individuals and felony drug charges. The Maine Drug Enforcement Agency had been investigating suspected drug trafficking at a residence located at 1057 Van Buren Road in the town of Caswell. On Tuesday morning, agents, along with deputies from the Aroostook County Sheriff's Office and U.S. Border Patrol agents, executed a search warrant there. MDEA says agents seized over 2 pounds of fentanyl, over a pound of methamphetamine, and over $19,000 in suspected drug proceeds. The estimated street value of the drugs is over $200,000. 47-year-old Andrew McCatton of Caswell, Maine, 27-year-old Wilo Rescio of Mattapan, Massachusetts, and 28-year-old Ramon Rescio of Boston, Massachusetts, and 35-year-old Diomedes Contreras of the Dominican Republic were all arrested and charged with unlawful trafficking of fentanyl methamphetamine. They were transported to the Aroostook County Jail. Bail was set at $15,000 cash. With less than 2 weeks to go until the election and all 186 seats in the Maine legislature up for grabs, how much money is being spent? And what are some of the most expensive races in the state? According to publicly reported data to the Maine Ethics Commission, around $2.9 million has been spent, most in a handful of races considered contentious that could determine who controls the legislature. Democratic-aligned groups have spent around $1.5 million as of last week, and Republican-aligned groups have spent about $1.3 million. Here's a look at some of the races attracting the most attention. In the Senate, District 15, representing part of Kennebec County, including Augusta, Belgrade, and China, where 2 sitting House members are competing for an open seat, Representative Reagan LaRochelle and Representative Dick Bradstreet. District 8, representing Orono, incumbent Senator Mike Tipping is facing off against challenger Leo Kenny. District 14 represents towns that include Winthrop, Hallowell, and Gardner. Their incumbent Senator, Greg Hickman, is up against Shannon McDonnell. And in the House, races to watch include District 44, where incumbent Representative William Plucker is being challenged by Ray Toombs. District 13 in Ellsworth is where Russell White is attempting to unseat current Representative Mark Worth. And District 17, where Representative Ronald Russell of Verona Island is facing challenger Stephen Bishop of Bucksport. The Bangor School Department has partnered with Penobscot Community Healthcare to open 2 new school-based health clinics. According to the school department, these clinics will help students and employees get access to health care. Once enrolled, students can get same-day care for things like sick visits, injuries, parent-requested vaccinations, sports physicals, and counseling.
I think they can do pretty much everything up to x-rays, and then they can refer out for anything beyond that. Well, it's important because it's a shortcut for parents and students to get medical help and mental health supports that our community needs so desperately.
Bangor is the 4th school system to partner with PCHC in this program. All appointments will be made through PCHC's website, and students will need to be accompanied by parents for appointments. Yesterday, Old Town, Maine officially became home to the world's only secure shipping container manufacturing facility. Officials cut the ribbon on global secure shipping yesterday morning. The containers built there use state-of-the-art technology to monitor the contents inside. While the business will bring over 100 jobs to the area, Maine Senator Susan Collins says the biggest milestone is the added safety the new technology will bring to ports across the world.
This is the only facility, the only manufacturer in the world that has figured out how to embed sensors in the inside of these containers. That way we can be sure what is in the containers, whether they've been tampered with en route.
Officials say containers equipped with the new technology are already being used. With the opening of the new facility, they're now equipped to roll out many more. All right, the time now is 6:08. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine. After surveying over 1,000 Mainers, researchers at Colby College say they have the first civic health report for Maine, and the results may surprise you. We'll get a look at that, but before we go, let's take another quick look at that forecast. Mostly cloudy today, a bit of a breeze. The leaves are peaking here in central Maine, and with that breeze, they'll be falling off the trees. Temps dipping today with the highs around 64 degrees, and even colder tonight with a low of 35, partly cloudy. Friday, mostly sun, but a little bit chillier with a high of 58 degrees. We'll be right back.
That nip in the air can only mean one thing. Dorsey's fall introductions have arrived, and we need to make room. Hundreds of items have been marked down store-wide. Ava 5-piece sectional, list price $34.99, now on sale for $24.99. Now remember, our prices include free statewide delivery and setup, so don't get bobbed by high delivery fees from other stores. Dorsey's fall clearance is a perfect time to get any room in your home ready for the winter months. Dorsey Furniture, Route 1A, Holden.
I've been living in my car for the last couple of weeks, trying to make ends meet, getting hotel rooms. This is the hotel where they were giving illegal immigrants free rooms. But yet, I had to pay $100 just to find some peace and comfort. Jared Golden does not have the proper focus on Mainers or American citizens. You want to take care of the people who have been there for you all the time, not take care of the people who just got here. I just feel as though Jared Golden should put Mainers first.
Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hey, good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Every day of your life.
Jeopardy is for everybody.
That's amazing.
With players just like you.
Paramedic, retired teacher, psychiatrist.
The next super champion could be anyone. It could be you.
Oh, wow.
On Jeopardy!
This week at 7:30, only on ABC7.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith. After years without paying to moor their boats in the town's harbor, Gouldsboro fishermen now have to pay an annual fee to continue dropping anchor in town waters. Some are frustrated by the change, but Gouldsboro officials say it's a way to fund town improvements. Our David Ledford has the story.
Last year, the town of Gouldsboro approved a fee requiring boaters to pay to use the town's dock space to moor their boats. Town Harbor Master Michael Pinkham says Gouldsboro has never had a fee like this before. And this year, some fishermen who have criticized the change have not paid the fee.
I have not run right down and paid it, no. We've been allowed to moor boats in this town for centuries, and now all of a sudden they want some sort of fee for it.
The town currently charges a $51 mooring fee annually, with a $25 late fee for missing the registration deadline. Town officials say these fees go towards infrastructure maintenance, like repairing the town pier.
That has to be maintained. I've bought a new float to put on that pier next spring. I'm putting a new hoist on the end of the pier, and we've also got to do a little work in Gouldsboro Bay from storm damage.
Pinkham says the fee is for boaters because they are the ones who use the harbor. Without this charge, he says all taxpayers would have to foot the bill to support town improvements.
You pay to play, and what I mean by that is you use this service. You use the town pier, you use the boat ramps. What you're doing is you're renting a space to put your mooring on the town's bottom.
I don't have a problem with what he's doing. It's his job, and I don't have a problem with this town. We're not a big city. We don't need all these little fees for everything.
In Gouldsboro, David Ledford, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Several employees of St. Joseph Healthcare were celebrated Wednesday for their commitment to providing high quality and compassionate care. For nearly 25 years, St. Joe's has been hosting the Mother Mary Angela Awards ceremony. 4 awards are given out to reflect the core values of the healthcare team's mission: excellence, collaboration, compassion, and integrity. Over 30 employees were nominated by their peers. We spoke with one of the recipients about what this honor means to him.
Awards are never a solo endeavor. It's always you're surrounded by a team that allow you to flourish in and of yourself, but the entire team is really the group that are being honored.
The ceremony is inspired by the legacy of Mother Mary Angela, who established the religious order that ultimately founded St. Joseph Healthcare. For a full list of the recipients, visit our website, foxbangor.com. Despite growing trends of polarization and disengagement in U.S. politics, researchers at Colby College say the state of civic health in Maine is generally strong. The school has developed the state's very first civic health report, which they just released yesterday. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
Do the people of Maine trust their government? Do they feel they can engage in meaningful ways in our democracy? Those are just a few examples of the questions found in Maine's very first civic health report.
What we're really trying to do with this report is start a conversation about the state's strengths and about the state's weaknesses.
Through U.S. Census data and an original survey of over 1,000 Maine residents, researchers at Colby College's Goldfarb Center for Public Affairs looked to gauge the state's civic health in 8 different areas.
It's good to explore the ways in which the changing nature of the state might create some pressure points in the future when it comes to civic engagement and civic life.
According to the lead methodologist on the report, public engagement is strong, with Maine leading the nation in public meeting attendance and high voter turnout rates. But they also found Mainers have very low trust in the national government and are pessimistic about the future of the nation across a variety of demographic groups.
When it comes to local government, when it comes to state government, Mainers are much more willing to express confidence in those institutions that are closer to home.
Community partners that help support the study are hoping that by understanding how Mainers feel about these topics, it can help to address some of the critical issues our communities are facing.
We really just wanted to help understand what's going on and therefore, what we might be able to do to address some of the challenges.
To learn more about the report and its findings, visit our website, foxbangor.com. In Waterville, I'm Grace Blanchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
All right, the time now is 6:15. After the break, Black Hawk helicopters touched down on the field at University of Maine yesterday to help recruit people to the Army. We'll take you there as Good Morning Maine continues.
Ready to refresh your home? Fall into savings with incredible deals at the Furniture Gallery. Shop new arrivals from top brands like Ashley, Serta, Restonic, Nectar, and Franklin. Fall in love with unbeatable deals like our sofa and love seat sets for only $9.99 or sofas starting at $3.99. Indulge in ultimate comfort with over 150 recliner styles starting at just $2.99. My family and I are committed to giving you the best value for your money at the Furniture Gallery. Support our Maine family-owned business and save money. The Furniture Gallery.
Jared Golden says,
I'm not voting for Donald Trump.
That's because Golden supports Kamala's agenda. Golden voted for their $1 trillion spending spree and against funding Trump's wall.
I'm not voting for Donald Trump.
Golden's for Kamala's policies instead. Aroostook County native, Austin Terrio, endorsed by Trump. He'll support Trump's policies, secure the border, and fix our economy. The choice is clear.
I'm Austin Terrio, and I approve this message.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
Maine's premier community radio station, Star 97.7, broadcasting loud and clear on our new tower. 50,000 watts of smooth rock and roll with Paul and Sonny in the morning and Mike Dow in the afternoon. Star 97.7.
Select group of local educators stepped out of the classroom and into a Black Hawk helicopter as part of the National Guard's recruiting initiative. And as Alex Schley tells us, the experience did not disappoint.
Wednesday afternoon, the National Guard landed 2 Black Hawk helicopters on Langley Fields at the University of Maine.
So this is the first time that we've brought a Black Hawk to the University of Maine Orono. It's a part of what we call a civic leader flight or educator lift.
Military officials use the event as a recruiting opportunity to talk to both students and staff about the options the National Guard offers. After students got a chance to explore the aircrafts, the educators began preparing to take to the sky. After a brief safety meeting,
do not move forward or aft. You will take all directions from us.
The teachers stepped on board and buckled up. Once in the air, educators went for a breathtaking flight over some of Maine's most picturesque landscapes.
It's so cool to see everything from an aerial view, first things first, and also incredibly impressive to see such an incredible piece of equipment. It's really cool to see everything that the Army has to offer.
Maine Army National Guard Sergeant First Class Christopher Caswell says the experience is their way of showing their appreciation.
Just do it for the teachers as a kind of a big thank you, because it's not every day that you really get to ride in a Black Hawk helicopter, and as well as to just showcase our aviation assets and talk about the opportunities that the Maine Army National Guard has to offer.
Caswell says they also hope the experience helps spark conversations between educators and their students.
All of our pilots and soldiers started off somewhere as a junior, senior in high school, not really knowing what they wanted to do.
For more information about the National Guard and the opportunities it offers, go to our website, foxbangor.com. In Orono, Alex Schley, ABC 7 and Fox 22.
Looks like a lot of fun. And of course, Alex is a new reporter here at Fox and ABC7. You'll be seeing and hearing a lot more from her. She'll be on the morning show soon enough. So looking forward to hear more from her. All right, the time now is 6:19. Let's get a full look at that forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Irish Collision Center offers expert repairs with a 3D frame measuring system, aluminum repair equipment. Our recent expansion boosts capacity, faster service. We're dedicated to quality every time. Visit us today. Alrighty, here we go. Not as much fog as I was worried about this morning, maybe a little bit over in Washington County and also over in the Rockland area. That will be getting out of here as we get the day going. We do have a small craft advisory up along the coast, and now will expire at 8 p.m. as we head towards your Friday. Now, the wave heights there are getting a bit active. That's why those advisories are up. This little lighter shade of blue indicates some higher surf, but the buoys nearby only reporting 2 to 3 foot wave heights, at least at this moment in time. It's probably a little bit higher further off towards the north and east of those buoys. But for now, we do have clouds passing through, even some rain showers showing up. This will be fizzling out throughout the daytime period today, especially this morning, as the rain showers are along a cold front that's tracking off towards the east. And as this cold front here continues to track off towards the east, that will bring cooler air in our direction. We'll notice that later on tonight, and especially as we head towards tomorrow. So futurecast moving forward, just a mostly cloudy sky for us today. Sunshine will be peeking out at times. Later on tonight, we will push the clouds out of here, eventually becoming mostly clear with a lot of sunshine on the way for your Friday. So a beautiful day to get outside. And once we head towards Friday night, not looking too bad either. Just some clouds that will be passing through. It looks to be about all there, looking rather clear as we head towards early Saturday morning. Our average high temperature is at 55 degrees. We'll do mid-60s today, upper 50s Friday, mid-50s Saturday. Then we're in the 40s for a few days, Sunday, Monday, into Tuesday. And then we're back in the 60s as we head towards your Wednesday. Fall foliage, no new update on this map just yet, but still shows the northern parts of the state at past peak for fall colors as the leaves blow off the trees. Bangor is at peak now, and areas further off to the south and west, not too far away from peak. So enjoy the fall colors while you still can before the leaves blow off the trees. So for today, middle 60s, mostly cloudy and breezy. The rain this morning will be wrapping up with a northwest wind getting up to around 15 miles per hour. Later on tonight, becoming partly cloudy with lows in the middle 30s, and that north wind getting up to around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And for tomorrow, upper 50s, lots of sunshine, and that north wind getting up to around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Alrighty, let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Rain showers possible on Saturday with highs in the mid-50s. Upper 40s, we cool off on Sunday under a partly cloudy sky, and mostly sunny on Monday with highs in the mid-40s.
They say that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Well, they are correct.
Especially when it's the irresistible steak, egg, and cheese bagel sandwich. Get yours today.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
We can go into a room and have absolutely nothing in there, nothing on the windows, no color, no character, no tone to a room.
That's, I think, where we're strongest, is being able to help someone envision what's going to go in that window.
And we leave, it's totally transformed into something that the customer wants it to be. We've often been told we make a room look better just by leaving it.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
There's a new way your family can be targeted. AI imposter scams. Thieves using AI to commit fraud.
You look scared, Whit.
Well, I am.
That's very believable.
Now this morning, the tools you need to know to protect your family on Good Morning America.
Goose River Farm and Meat Store is conveniently located on Route 3 across from Hammond Lumber in Belfast. They have a wide selection of meat and poultry, including beef, pork, lamb, chicken, duck, rabbit, and turkey. Open Tuesday through Saturday.
If you have to ask why it's important to start your day early, here's your answer.
Get any size iced coffee in any flavor for just $1.29 during breakfast hours.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
It may not qualify as an October surprise, but comments by a former chief of staff to then-President Trump are making headlines less than 2 weeks ahead of the election. Fox News chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel has the details.
Certainly, the former president is in the far-right area. He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
In an interview with The Atlantic, John Kelly recounted how Trump told him he wanted generals that were loyal like Hitler's. Vice President Kamala Harris was quick to jump on Kelly's criticism.
Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him.
Retired Army Brigadier General Anthony Tata says Kelly's use of fascism is a cheap shot and dangerous.
I am shocked that General Kelly has made these comparisons of Trump to Hitler when he knows they're not true. He knows that he's enabling a Harris-Walz ticket that would continue to help the Middle East unravel and drive our enemies together.
The Atlantic also referenced Mr. Trump inviting the family of 20-year-old Army Private Vanessa Guillen, who was murdered at a military base in Texas, to the Oval Office. At one point, the president offered to pay for her funeral. Then Atlantic sources suggest Trump blew up when he heard the price tag would be $60,000. A former Pentagon chief of staff says that is not true.
He said if the military didn't pick up the tab, he would in its entirety. That's the commander-in-chief.
Guillen's sister accused The Atlantic of exploiting her sister's death for politics and said, quote, President Trump did nothing but show respect to my family and Vanessa. In fact, I voted for President Trump today. Nick Ayers, a former chief of staff to then Vice President Mike Pence, called Kelly's commentary, quote, patently false. Now, some are raising questions about why stories reportedly from more than 4 years ago are being released less than 2 weeks from the election. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Gave an update on its response to Hurricane Helene from hard-hit Augusta, Georgia. Both Georgia and North Carolina are still on the long road to recovery. Fox News correspondent Connor Hansen has the story.
It's been almost 1 month since Hurricane Helene made landfall in Florida and caused devastating flooding in Georgia and North Carolina. FEMA has led the response to one of the deadliest storms in history. Its administrator spoke in Augusta, Georgia.
As I talked to the mayor and his team earlier, we are here for the long haul. We are here and going to be with everybody in this community.
FEMA says there are nearly 800 workers from the federal government in Georgia, and they have given out almost $160 million to people recovering from the storm. In parts of North Carolina, entire towns were covered in mud.
Basically what we're doing right now is cleaning up all the debris out in the roadways and highways.
Hard-hit Buncombe County, home to Asheville, has significantly reduced the number of deaths it reported from the storm. Officials there originally reported 72 deaths, but now say the toll is 42, citing communications challenges for the discrepancy. When it comes to the economic impact, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper says the cost from damage has surpassed $50 billion.
One thing is certain, no matter who is footing the bill, and especially if it's the taxpayers, we need to ensure that homes, businesses, water systems, and roads are rebuilt stronger to withstand future storms.
Governor Cooper says around 1 million people lost power in the state after Helene. That number is now down to about 4,000. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
The U.S. says 3,000 North Korean troops deployed to Russia. They're training at several locations. The Biden administration calls the move very serious and warns those forces will be fair game if they go into combat in Ukraine. The White House says if North Korea joins Russia's fight against Ukraine, it could have significant impacts in Europe and the Indo-Pacific. And there's looming concern Russia could help North Korea develop its nuclear program. But for now, the Biden administration is just monitoring. However, the U.S. is considering more sanctions as a response, we are told, but House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Turner says North Korea joining the fight against Ukraine should be a red line for Biden, and he should both greenlight those long-range missiles within Russia and also consider direct U.S. military action against the North Korean troops. All right, coming up on the second half of the newscast, we'll have all the latest from Showbiz as Good Morning Maine continues.
Maine's largest network of parts has more ways to save this fall. Whether it's oil, air, or fuel, light or heavy duty, our Napa filters are on sale right now. But for a limited time only, Coastal Auto Parts is owned and operated by a Maine family that cares.
At WKIT in the 90s, things were a little different. Now we take the rock very seriously. Still clowning around decades later. 100.3 WKIT, WKIT HD, Brewer, Bangor.
It's another exciting year of high school football in the state of Maine. Get out and support your home team and be looking for the ABC7 Sports Blitz crew. You can get a free Sports Blitz t-shirt, then watch Sports Blitz during ABC7 News at 11 every Friday night during the football season. Blitz shirts courtesy of
All That's Metal, Bangor Tire Company, Danforth's Down Home Supermarket, Driveway Maintenance and Paving, Maniac Snack Shack, Overhead Door Company of Bangor, R&R Auto Body, and Twin City Tile.
I'm Jared Golden, and I approve this message. Washington wasn't listening to Maine. So we brought Maine to Washington to deliver the message.
Together, we stood up to Biden to protect Maine lobstermen.
Worked with the Trump administration to build a veteran treatment center.
Delivered $1 million to train Maine loggers.
And worked with Republicans to secure our border and fund our police.
And we're just getting started.
Maine's largest network of parts has more reasons to shop this fall and more ways to keep you warm. Stock up and hit the road with Milwaukee's heated hoodies all winter long at the lowest price guaranteed. Coastal Auto Parts is owned and operated by a Maine family that cares.
You're watching ABC7 Bangor.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith, and today is Thursday, October 24th, 2024, and today is United Nations Day. Established at the end of World War II in 1945, the world's premier international organization was established on this day to maintain world peace and friendly relations among nations. They work to protect human rights, deliver humanitarian aid, and enforce international cooperation, and much more, of course, as well. All right, now for some other history, and it's kind of all 20th century between the time span of just 40 years today. It's kind of dense. In 1901, Annie Taylor became the first person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel and survive. She was accompanied in the barrel by her cat. She was seeking fame and fortune, and from the source that I read, she did not obtain fortune. However, she was quite famous there for a time. Sometimes you can't win them all. In 1908, Billy Murray hit the charts with the iconic baseball song, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. That song has been around for quite some time, over 100 years. In 1926, Harry Houdini had his last performance at the Garrick Theater in Detroit, Michigan. Throughout his last performance, he had appeared in pain and had collapsed once the curtain dropped. Upon being checked out by a doctor, it was found that he had a gangrenous appendix, and he died just a few days later on Halloween. A few years later, in 1929, in what was known as Black Thursday, the stock market crashed, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropping 12.8%. This was the day of the largest sell-off of shares in U.S. history and signaled the beginning of the Great Depression. In 1938, the United States forbid child labor in factories. A few years later, in 1940, the Fair Labor Standards of 1938 went into effect, creating a minimum wage and a 44-hour work week. All right, for birthdays today, we have rapper Drake. He is 38 years old today. Celtics shooting guard Jaylen Brown is 28 today, and actor F. Murray Abraham is 85. Kind of some serious photos of the birthday guys today. All right, moving on now. Temps are dropping. It still looks like we have a nice Friday ahead of us, or today's Thursday rather. Today still looks pretty nice, not as nice as the first half of the week was, though. We won't be seeing those temps probably for the rest of the year. I think I'm going to go ahead and make that assumption. Okay, let's get a look at that forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Irish Collision Center offers expert repairs with a 3D frame measuring system, aluminum repair equipment. Our recent expansion boosts capacity with a faster service. We're dedicated to quality every time. Visit us today. Alrighty, here we go. Not as much fog as I was worried about so far this morning. We're seeing a little bit develop near parts of Washington County and also near parts of Rockland. That will go away as we get the day going. No advisories in that department, but we do have a small crowd advisory that is now up until 8 p.m. as we head towards your Friday with active surf that will be expected along the coast. Meanwhile, we are seeing clouds passing through this morning and even some rain showers showing up. We'll have this fizzle out this morning and we'll just have a mostly cloudy sky throughout the daytime period today. The sun will also come out from time to time. This is a cold front that's passing through located right about in here, so once this passes through, temperatures will start to cool off and we'll feel that coming up later on tonight and parts of tomorrow. Futurecast showing that mostly cloudy sky for us today, and we'll start to lose the clouds later on tonight and looking very nice. A lot of sunshine as we head towards your Friday. As for the winds, not too bad. They might get a little bit gusty, around 10 to 15 miles per hour at times, with higher gusts up to 20 to 25 miles per hour. That may continue along the coast later on tonight, but not as bad as you had inland later on. So otherwise, your forecast for today, we have middle 60s, mostly cloudy and breezy. Northwest wind at about 5 to 15 miles per hour. The hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period, showing that mostly cloudy sky as any rain this morning wraps up with temperatures in the mid 60s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up.
Thank you, Devin. Well, for the latest on what's happening in Hollywood, here's ABC's Melissa Aden.
Is Liam Neeson getting ready to retire his particular set of skills?
You could say that.
The Taken star tells People in this week's cover story that his days as an action star are winding down. He's got the thriller Absolution coming out November 1st, but he tells the mag that next year may be his last one in the genre. I'm 72. It has to stop at some stage, he says. Jerry Springer is getting the docuseries treatment courtesy of Netflix. Jerry Springer Fights, Camera, Action will take a deep dive into the questionable morals of the 90s tabloid talk show. It hits the streamer on January 7th. They would never let you go. And get well soon, Justin Timberlake, the singer, had to postpone 6 of his Forget Tomorrow World Tour shows as he recovers from bronchitis and laryngitis. The canceled dates have been rescheduled for February. And happy birthday, Drake, the rapper, turns 38 today. And that's what's happening in Hollywood. Melissa Adan, ABC News, Los Angeles.
All right after the break, Tyler Cruz will have the latest with sports. We'll be right back.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
My stepfather raised our family working at G.H. Bass, and we saw his jobs go overseas. Yeah, I worked in the paper mills and shoe shops, and those all closed. It pisses me off. See good jobs going overseas. Austin Terrio signed a pledge to protect tax breaks and loopholes for corporations that send jobs overseas. And he supports trade with China that hurts Maine lobstermen. Why would you give tax breaks to corporations that are sending jobs overseas? Austin Terrio is for his big donors. He's not for the working class, that's for sure.
HMP is responsible for the content of this ad.
What do I like about Joe Baldacci? Well, the man's Italian, first off, so what's not to like? But more importantly, Joe is community-focused and independently minded, and Joe gets things done, whether it's for seniors or young people or young families. He was named Legislator of the Year by the Maine Council on Aging for his work to protect seniors and their health care in many important ways. He represents Bangor and Herman well, because to Joe, everyone matters.
Paid for and authorized by the Joe Baldacci for State Senate Committee, Eugene Sullivan, Treasurer.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
Name a way a woman likes her men and her cheese.
Full of adventure.
Family Feud. Stop all this adventure!
Weekdays at 9 on ABC.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Let's start on the football field. It's a huge weekend coming up for Maine football as they look to take down another ranked opponent on the road. Fresh off of a homecoming win over then-ranked 5th Villanova, the Black Bears head down to the University of Rhode Island for a matchup against the 15th-ranked Rams. Picking up their 4th win of the year on Saturday, Maine now has doubled their win totals from each of the past 2 seasons. Head coach Jordan Stevens says the team has done a great job refocusing each week, and that needs to continue if they want to keep rolling.
Our ability to turn the page, our ability to refocus, and give the next opponent the same level of respect and work, and that has to happen, and this is a very good Rhode Island team. This is a top 15 team in the country. It's a resilient group, a group that knows how to work and how to compete. So big test for us on the road at their homecoming.
The win over Villanova was Maine's 2nd win over a ranked opponent this year. They have a legitimate shot at the playoffs, especially with a win this weekend. And when asked about the difference between this year and the last few, it is all about the mindset of the players.
I think just guys finally getting familiar with Coach Stevens and his teachings and coachings. But now the guys have been with him, like myself, for 3 years now. Like, it's finally clicking. Him wanting the team more to be ran by the leaders, older guys. I think we've finally stepped up and really embraced those roles as well.
I used to say it all the time, we just have to be intrinsically motivated. You can't have a coach yelling at you all the time, and this year, we finally have guys stepping up, wanting to do it themselves, so the coaches don't have to yell at us, don't have to get us going, and that what helps us win games.
The game kicks off at 1 p.m. at Meade Stadium in Rhode Island. We head one field over now, where Maine women's soccer is looking to finish the year strong and stay unbeaten in conference play and keep a historic winning streak alive. Our Jack Webb has the story.
We had an image of our jersey with a bullseye on it, and we talked about that. We like that. We embrace that.
The defending Americas champions and number 24 ranked Black Bears have been taking teams' best punches all year long.
We know that every single game we play, teams are going to be coming after us, coming out strong. And for us, it's just really taking it day by day and following our game plan.
You want everybody's best shot because it forces you to be have your A game. And so we look at that as that motivates us.
They've taken those punches on the chin and stand tall. On a program record 8-game win streak and unbeaten in conference play with only 2 regular season games remaining. But they still don't feel like they've put their best product on display.
Lately we were talking about, have we had our best performance yet? And nobody believes we've played our best yet. And so that in itself motivates them every time to go out. We don't think about our opposition. We think about us and what we want to accomplish. And right now, we're still after our best performance.
7 of their 10 wins have been decided by just 1 goal, which has helped them learn to be comfortable in the chaos.
Ultimately, just staying patient within the games. And a big thing we preach is just having that belief the goal's going to come, but just stay working at it.
Having belief the goal will come means understanding it just takes a few seconds for everything to change.
We've shown images and film after video where it's 6 seconds. We come into possession and it's 6 seconds, the ball's in the back of the net. And I think that takes a lot off of the players to know, hey, you look up at the clock and there's still 2 minutes left. We're we got plenty of time. There's a lot of 6 seconds in that 2 minutes.
The Black Bears will host NJIT on Sunday at home on Mahaney Diamond, where they haven't lost in 24 straight games. From Orono, Jack Webb, ABC7, Fox 22 Sports.
Thanks for that, Jack. Moving back to the football field now, something's got to give on Sunday when the New York Jets, who have lost 4 straight, soar into Foxborough to take on the Patriots, losers of their last 6. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, who pummeled the Patriots at MetLife Stadium 24-3 in Week 3, have not won a game since. They have fired their coach, and they've brought in Davante Adams all since that game. Meanwhile, the 1-6 Patriots have turned the offense over to rookie Drake May, and he's provided a spark to the passing game. Despite being 0-2 as a starter, May has 541 yards and 5 touchdowns with 2 picks from his first start. And already the 22-year-old rookie is stepping up off the field as well.
As a quarterback, I think I need to bring it every day. Every day that's my responsibility that comes with playing the position is bringing juice and being the guy that somebody look to. Hey, if Drake's down, then just the quarterback of the football team. I think it's every day I need to bring juice, and that's kind of my personality anyway.
All right, bring the juice. That game kicks off at 1 p.m. Right now, the Jets are favored by 7.5 points. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after this.
He used to be good. He pretended to be good on our Second Amendment.
We have homeless veterans on the street, and Jared Golden wants to make sure our immigrants have free housing.
We're supposed to get 150 new migrants in Bangor.
Jared Golden voted to give illegal immigrants welfare, and he voted to let them use welfare benefits on liquor and bail. Mainers are getting screwed.
Jared Golden is good at saying one thing and doing something else. He's expert at it.
Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
When you're ready to tackle your next building project, depend on the knowledge and experience of Hammond Lumber Company. Hammond's Home Planning Center will turn your ideas into accurate conceptual drawings, and 3D visualization is available. Your Hammond sales rep will prepare a materials list and cost estimate. And when you buy all of your materials from them, Hammond will refund all of your design fees. Hammond can deliver your order from any of their 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner since 1953.
It's another exciting year of high school football in the state of Maine. Get out and support your home team and be looking for the ABC7 Sports Blitz crew. You can get a free Sports Blitz t-shirt, then watch Sports Blitz during ABC7 News at 11 every Friday night during the football season. Blitz shirts courtesy of
207 Firearms Training, Acres Away Realty, Coastal Auto Parts, Drinkwaters Cash Fuel, Gemtech Auto Repair, Steaks and Stuff, and Ware's Power Equipment.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. Superintendents from Fort Kent to Kittery were in Augusta yesterday for the Maine School Superintendents Association annual meeting and awards ceremony. That's a mouthful. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard was there and spoke with this year's Maine Superintendent of the Year.
The greatest honor is to be nominated by your peers, to have your peers say, wow.
The Maine School Superintendent Association is an organization consisting of school superintendents from across the state. On Wednesday, they held their annual meeting at the Augusta Civic Center. Howard Tuttle, the superintendent from RSU 12, was awarded the title of Maine Superintendent of the Year. Tuttle says the job of superintendent is rewarding, but it has its challenges too.
I couldn't have done it, without the team that we've got in RSU 12 and the team in Maine supporting public education. Sometimes public education is an easy target, and so being an advocate for public education, that's a big part of the job, and it can be challenging at times, and explaining to people why we do what we do and being transparent, all those things.
Also named was Maine's Assistant Superintendent of the Year. Christine Frost-Burtonnet from RSU 14 says her favorite part of the job as Assistant Superintendent is watching the plans you made get accomplished.
I think seeing your vision and the work you're doing with your colleagues come to fruition, the development of a successful pre-K program, seeing people embrace outdoor educational programming, seeing teachers get inspired by new ideas or research or a shift in practices.
The road isn't over for Tuttle, who now gets his hat thrown in the ring for national recognition.
His nomination now will go to AASA, the American Association of School Administrators, to be considered for National Superintendent of the Year.
If selected as a finalist next month, Tuttle will travel to Washington, D.C. in January to appear before the panel choosing the 2025 National Superintendent of the Year. In Augusta, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Congratulations to him. All right, well, there's a certain stray cat in Dallas who's got a little more energy in her strut yesterday morning. That's because she's a stray no more. And it's all thanks to a heroic pilot. Here's ABC's Danny New.
A few weeks ago, in preparation for Hurricane Milton, 145 animals in South Carolina boarded a flight to Milwaukee.
There was some barking and meowing on takeoff.
Mira here works for Lucky Dog Animal Rescue, who partnered up with Greater Good Charities and Southwest Airlines to bring these animals in from Tennessee and Florida and then fly them out of the storm's path to rescue organizations in Wisconsin.
Okay, thank you.
As you can see, the cats were stowed under the seats and then the dogs took top buck. Overall, Mira says it was a pretty normal flight, just without any refreshments, since
You don't want a lot of things going into the animals because they will come back out.
that is fair. But when they got to Milwaukee, there was a thunderstorm and nobody could get off the plane for about an hour. And that is when Captain Matthew Prebish met Avery.
When you were walking into work that day, did you think, I'm going to adopt a kitten?
Absolutely not.
Matthew and his family already have a cat and dog at home, but when he first walked back to meet the animals, Avery said, hey, room for one more?
Avery is very vocal. She was kind of pressed against the crate, like, hey, look over here. Let's get me out of this thing.
The captain immediately fell in love, texted his wife, and made history, all while on board.
I have to say, this is our third flight and our first mid-flight adoption.
A few weeks later, Matthew says Avery is all settled into their Dallas home. As you can see, she has bonded quite well with his son, as well as their golden retriever, Wrigley. But I think we all know who her favorite probably is.
Is this Avery?
Yes, this is Avery.
Oh my God, she loves Dad.
So Matthew says they're probably changing Avery's name. He was considering Mayday since they sort of saved her in a time of distress. But his son says he really wants to go with Scratch. Both good. In New York, for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
I prefer Scratch myself. That's awesome. All right, now here's meteorologist Evan Biggs with our full weather forecast one last time.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Irish Collision Center offers expert repairs with a 3D frame measuring system, aluminum repair equipment. Our recent expansion boosts capacity, faster service. We're dedicated to quality every time. Visit us today. Alrighty, here we go. Not as much fog as I was worried about this morning, maybe a little bit over in Washington County and also over in the Rockland area. That will be getting out of here as we get the day going. We do have a small crowd advisory up along the coast, and now will expire at 8 p.m. as we head towards your Friday. Now, the wave heights there are getting a bit active. That's why those advisories are up. This little lighter shade of blue indicates some higher surf, but the buoys nearby only reporting 2 to 3 foot wave heights, at least at this moment in time. It's probably a little bit higher farther off towards the north and east of those buoys. But for now, we do have clouds passing through, even some rain showers showing up. This will be fizzling out throughout the daytime period today, especially this morning, as the rain showers are along a cold front that's tracking off towards the east. And as this cold front here continues to track off towards the east, that will bring cooler air in our direction. We'll notice that later on tonight, and especially as we head towards tomorrow. So futurecast moving forward, just a mostly cloudy sky for us today. Sunshine will be peeking out at times. Later on tonight, we will push the clouds out of here, eventually becoming mostly clear with a lot of sunshine on the way for your Friday. So a beautiful day to get outside. And once we head towards Friday night, not looking too bad either. Just some clouds that will be passing through, and it looks to be about all there, looking rather clear as we head towards early Saturday morning. Our average high temperature is at 55 degrees. We'll do mid-60s today, upper 50s Friday, mid-50s Saturday. Then we're in the 40s for a few days, Sunday, Monday, into Tuesday. And then we're back in the 60s as we head towards your Wednesday. Fall foliage, no new update on this map just yet, but still shows the northern parts of the state at past peak for fall colors as the leaves blow off the trees. Bangor is at peak now, and areas further off to the south and west, not too far away from peak. So enjoy the fall colors while you still can before the leaves blow off the trees. So for today, middle 60s, mostly cloudy and breezy. The rain this morning will be wrapping up with a northwest wind getting up to around 15 miles per hour. Later on tonight, becoming partly cloudy with lows in the middle 30s, and that north wind getting up to around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And for tomorrow, upper 50s, lots of sunshine, and that north wind getting up to around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Alrighty, let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Irish Collision Center. Rain showers possible on Saturday with highs in the mid-50s. Upper 40s, we cool off on Sunday under a partly cloudy sky, and mostly sunny on Monday with highs in the mid-40s.
Here's what you need to know about
No Show Austin Terrio.
Austin Terrio skipped work in the State House, but still took his paycheck.
What a deadbeat.
Now Terrio wants a promotion.
To join Washington politicians?
Trying to cut the Social Security and Medicare benefits that we earned.
I can't afford a cut, and I don't think anybody else can.
I think it's wrong. I earned it by working the years that I worked.
No Show Terrio is not going to work for Maine.
HMP is responsible for the content of this ad.
I was injured in a motorcycle accident and called Joe Bornstein's office for a free case evaluation. These guys are really good. They work hard and they really do fight for you. I was able to recover from my injuries while they took care of all the important details, and there were a lot of them. I highly recommend the law offices of Joe Bornstein to anyone injured in a motorcycle accident. For those who ride, keep Joe by your side.
Call Joe today for a free case evaluation. There's never a fee unless you win.
With Chevy trucks, be ready for adventure. With power you can count on. Capability that doesn't compromise. A hard-working EV with more range than any competitor and the potential to take you anywhere. Qualified Chevy lessees can lease this Silverado for around $359 a month. Visit your Maine Chevy dealers.
Colburn Shoe, your mid-coast destination for quality footwear such as Skechers, Hoka, Blundstone, Dansko, Merrell, and many more. Let us pair your feet with the perfect footwear. Colburn Shoe Store, 79 Main Street, Belfast.
A 911 Halloween is a living nightmare.
A trick-or-treater and he's pinned against the door.
No, Daddy!
What was he?
He lost his pulse. We need blood! 911, all new tonight on ABC.
Keepers at a zoo in England served snack-filled pumpkins to monkeys, yaks, and babirussas at the zoo on Wednesday. I don't know what that last animal is, and I don't know if I pronounced it right. Carved pumpkins were scattered around enclosures. While some pumpkins were filled with treats, others were left empty. The tricks, putting the animals' foraging and hunting skills to the test. Oh, that's probably what that thing is that I just said, and I don't know what the word means. It looks kind of like a boar, but those monkeys are so cute. Oh my gosh, wow, that's so picturesque. Beautiful. It's pumpkin carving season. I'm looking forward to carving a pumpkin. All right, looks like we're running out of time for now. If you missed anything, you can head to foxbangor.com. We will start a renewed hour of Good Morning Maine. That is next on Fox 22, and I hope you have a great Thursday.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Join us every Friday this season as we celebrate the return to the gridiron with the most highlights, reactions, and analysis of your favorite teams. Catch Sports Blitz Friday at 11 on ABC 7. Sports Blitz is brought to you by Coastal Auto Parts, your local Napa Auto Parts dealer with 30 locations, owned and operated by a Maine family that cares. And by Dorsey Furniture, Route 1A Holden, where you'll find furniture that's in stock and ready for delivery.
Backed by popular demand, the Lucerne Inn in Dedham presents its amazing Sunday brunch. Join us every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for a culinary experience like no other. Indulge in an exquisite selection of dishes, all while enjoying breathtaking views. Seating is limited, so reservations are recommended, but walk-ins are always welcome. The Lucerne Inn Sunday Brunch, where great food meets a spectacular view. Call today to reserve your spot.
When you never have to worry about thinking too big? Because you have a connection that's ready for anything. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Good morning, America. 12 days to go.
Bangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Today on Good Morning Maine, multiple arrests were made in an ongoing investigation into possession of a sexually explicit material. Plus, millions of dollars have been spent on elections in Maine. We'll see where the money went. And fishermen are voicing their frustrations over having to pay mooring fees in Gouldsboro after years of getting it for free. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith and thank you for tuning in this morning. It seems like temps are dropping this morning. It's not going to be as warm as it's been the past couple days, and I'm going to make the assumption that it's not going to be as warm as it has been the past couple days for the rest of the year. But I'm not the expert. Let's get that forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
All righty, thank you very much. Happy Thursday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Irish